Never in human history have people known as much as they do today. We can measure the age of the universe, photograph galaxies billions of light years away, and analyze particles smaller than atoms. And yet, never before have human beings been so deeply confused by a question that seems simple on the surface. Who am I, and what am I living for? Science has given humanity a level of power that ancient civilizations could only dream of. It has helped us cure diseases, extend life expectancy, conquer the skies, and even step beyond Earth itself. But alongside that progress, a quiet emptiness has spread. Humanity's greatest questions have not disappeared. They have only been pushed deeper into the mind. We know how life functions, but we do not know why it is worth living. We understand the mechanics of the universe, but we struggle to find meaning in pain, loss, and death. When science cannot fill that void, some people turn science itself into a substitute for faith. Not because science answers everything, but because facing what science cannot touch is frightening. Religion is dismissed as outdated. Faith is labeled as weakness, and anything beyond the laboratory is quickly branded as superstition. But pause for a moment. If science were truly sufficient to replace everything, why is modern humanity, with all its knowledge, experiencing a crisis of meaning deeper than any era before it? Why are depression, loneliness, and suicide increasing in the most developed societies? Perhaps the problem is not that humanity knows too little, but that it has confused knowledge with truth. Science describes the world, but it does not tell us how to live within it. It measures reality, but it does not give us a reason to endure, to sacrifice, or to forgive. And at this dead end, another question quietly emerges. If science has only taken shape and matured over the past few centuries, could there exist a source of knowledge that does not compete with science, does not oppose reason, yet laid the foundations for how the universe operates long before humans learned to measure it? Welcome to Prophetic History Explained. This is not a place where blind belief is demanded. It is a place where reflection is invited. Not through fleeting emotion, but through the very reason modern humanity takes pride in. Because there is a book that has existed for more than 14 centuries, read by people with no microscopes, no satellites, no laboratories, yet containing descriptions of the universe, life, and humanity that science is only now beginning to grasp. That book does not teach science. It does not present laws, equations, or arguments. And yet something strange happens. Each time science advances, it does not refute that book. Instead, it makes those seemingly simple words feel deeper, more unsettling, and harder to explain by chance alone. Could it be that some truths are not born in laboratories, but are waiting to be discovered? Could it be that some laws existed long before humanity learned how to measure them? And could it be that while humans search obsessively for answers outside themselves, an essential part of truth has always been very close? This video does not attempt to prove that the Qur'an is a science textbook, nor does it try to turn science into a tool of faith. Instead, we step into a far more uncomfortable intersection where reason is not shut down, but arrogance is forced into silence. Where questions are not forbidden, but answers do not come from randomness. If you have ever believed that science closed the door on faith, perhaps you have not looked deeply enough. And if you have ever believed that religion has no place in the modern world, perhaps you have not faced the questions science continues to avoid. Stay until the end of this video, because what we are about to explore is not only about the universe out there, but about you, your existence, your choices, and the meaning of the life you are living. If these questions feel worth reflecting on, subscribe to Prophetic History Explained to support us. Every subscription helps us continue creating content that is deeper, more honest, and more meaningful for those still searching for light in a world full of noise. And now let us begin the journey. The Qur'an never appeared as a book competing with science. It does not stand at a podium teaching formulas, laws, or cosmic models, and this is precisely what makes it profoundly different. While modern humanity often measures knowledge by the level of detail, the Qur'an chooses restraint, not because it lacks information, but because it was not revealed for a single era. If we look closely, we see that the Qur'an speaks about nature in brief statements, sometimes only a single clause, without elaboration or explanation. That brevity led many in the past to see these verses as symbolic or moral reminders rather than descriptions of reality. Yet what is remarkable is that those words have never been proven wrong by science, even as science has radically transformed humanity's understanding of the world. The Qur'an does not describe phenomena in rigid terms. It does not say this is exactly how it is and there is only one possible meaning. Instead, it opens a door. A person in the 7th century walked through that door with faith. A person in the 21st century walks through it with telescopes, brain scanners, and massive data sets. Yet the door remains the same. And remarkably, no contradiction appears. If the Qur'an were the product of a human intellect rooted in a specific era, it would have been overtaken by history long ago. Human knowledge always carries the imprint of its time. Theories once considered absolute truth have since been replaced or discarded. But the Qur'an has not required revision, updating, or modernization, and this presents an uncomfortable question for modern thought. How could a text transmitted from a society without experimental science avoid the errors that even history's greatest philosophers could not escape? How could it speak about nature without falling into the naive, mistaken, or mythical descriptions found in many ancient texts? The answer lies in how the Qur'an speaks. It does not provide details to satisfy curiosity. It offers signs, and signs by nature do not compel. They exist to be recognized when one is ready. Verses about the universe, life, and humanity do not demand immediate understanding. They allow time to do its work. Earlier generations read and believed. Later generations read and reflect. The difference is not in the text, but in the tools humans bring when approaching it. The Qur'an does not change. The human perspective does. This also explains why the Qur'an never turns itself into a science book. Science, by nature, is provisional. It advances by correcting itself. What is true today may be false tomorrow. Revelation does not operate this way. It was not sent to catalog every physical detail of the world, but to guide how humans live within it. When the Qur'an points to nature, the goal is not to satisfy intellect, but to awaken awareness. It does not ask, "Do you understand?" but rather, "Do you reflect?" This distinction marks the boundary between knowledge and wisdom. Some argue that finding harmony between the Qur'an and science is forced interpretation. But the deeper question is why there is anything to align in the first place. Why have those statements not been eliminated by scientific discovery as many ancient ideas have been? And in this case, the absence of contradiction speaks louder than argument. The Qur'an does not challenge science, nor does it rely on science to validate itself. It stands elsewhere, above debate and below spectacle. It exists as a foundation to which every generation returns, discovering that what they have just uncovered was already alluded to. Not as explanation, but as reminder that humanity is not the center of the universe. Perhaps what unsettles people most is not that the Qur'an aligns with science, but that it does not need science to exist. In an age obsessed with measurement, the Qur'an reminds us that not all truth is born from instruments. Some truths are recognized not when humans know more, but when they become less arrogant about what they do not yet understand. When the verses related to nature and humanity are viewed together, a pattern emerges. They do not appear as scattered fragments, nor are they arranged to overwhelm by quantity. They repeat the same message patiently and consistently, whispering across centuries that the universe is not chaotic and life is not an accident. First comes the universe, not as humans often imagine it, an empty vastness where objects drift aimlessly, but as an ordered system where everything moves within established paths. Day does not overtake night. The sun and moon do not collide. Every entity has limits and a place. These descriptions lack mathematical language, yet they reflect a principle modern science must accept. The universe can exist only if governed by extraordinarily precise laws. Even phenomena humans consider familiar are presented in ways that force reflection. The seas, which appear to merge into one body of water, are described as having boundaries, not visible walls, but unseen limits beyond ordinary perception. Iron, the foundation of tools, warfare, and construction, is not described merely as something emerging from the earth, but as something brought forth for human benefit. Taken individually, these lines might be overlooked. Taken together, they form a picture of a universe that is not merely present but prepared. From cosmic order, the Qur'an turns to life, not through poetic exaggeration but through concrete signs. Plants are described as existing in pairs. Nourishment passes through complex systems before becoming pure and life-sustaining. Creatures that appear simple are mentioned with abilities far exceeding their size. Bees are not described as ordinary insects, but as guided beings with paths, order, and purpose. Life, as presented by the Qur'an, is not a chain of random reactions that somehow stabilized over millions of years. It resembles a system balanced so precisely that a small disruption could cause collapse. Light, water, air, darkness, motion, all are distributed with a precision humans often appreciate only when one link breaks. Then the focus turns to humanity, not to glorify but to remind. Humans are described as thinking beings, yet not all-knowing, capable of choice, yet clearly limited. The brain, where decisions, morality, and deception form, is not separated from behavior. The body responds to the environment through laws beyond personal will. It is when pressure changes, the chest tightens. When oxygen decreases, breathing becomes difficult. When a person sleeps for extended periods, the body itself requires protection from decay. These details are not offered to satisfy curiosity, but to place humanity correctly. Humans do not stand outside nature observing it. They are part of it, governed by the same laws as every other living thing. Even something as small as a fingerprint is mentioned as a sign of absolute individuality. That no two humans are identical, even though they are formed from the same basic elements. The more humans discover, the clearer it becomes that they are not the center of everything. Each scientific advance expands knowledge while exposing new limitations. The Qur'an does not hide this, and it repeatedly reminds that human knowledge is only a small fraction of a greater reality. When these signs are seen as a single flow, a message emerges. The order of the universe, the complexity of life, and the limits of humanity are not separate. They complement each other. They indicate that the world was not created for absolute human dominance, but for recognition, reflection, and self-placement. Perhaps the power of these signs lies not in their compatibility with science, but in their demand that humans face an uncomfortable truth. The more we understand the world, the more humility is required before the one who set laws we are only beginning to read. One of the most persistent misunderstandings about the Qur'an concerns destiny. Many assume that qadar means rigid predetermination, where humans are passive actors in a script already written. But a careful and honest reading reveals a far more complex and challenging picture. The Qur'an does not deny choice. On the contrary, it emphasizes responsibility. Humans are commanded to act, warned of consequences, rewarded and reproached. If everything were forced, such calls would be meaningless. Without choice, justice itself would collapse. The Qur'an places humans as agents, not puppets. At the same time, it affirms that Allah knows everything. Past, present, and future lie within His knowledge. Here, intellectual tension arises. How can humans be free if outcomes are already known? This question has haunted philosophy for thousands of years. Interestingly, modern science, though not rooted in revelation, is beginning to encounter similar issues. Humans often imagine time as a straight line, with the past behind, the future ahead, and the present as the only reality. But research into the nature of time has disrupted this image. Time is not absolute. It can stretch, contract, and depend on the observer's state. Cause and effect do not always follow familiar sequences. What humans call before and after may not exist as we perceive them. This does not turn science into an explanation of destiny, but it opens an important doorway of thought. Perhaps reality does not operate according to the simple logic of daily experience. Perhaps Allah knowing outcomes does not mean Allah forces them. Knowledge does not create action, it encompasses it. The Qur'an states that good comes from Allah, while harm results from what humans bring upon themselves. This is not blame shifting, and it is empowerment. Humans cannot escape responsibility by invoking fate. At the same time, they are not abandoned in a meaningless universe where effort is futile. Destiny, as the Qur'an presents it, is not an iron cage, but a complete picture humans can only see in fragments. There are moments when people look back and ask, if I had chosen differently, would things have changed? The Qur'an does not dismiss this question. It invites reflection. Every choice leaves a trace. Every action carries weight. Yet no choice exists outside Allah's knowledge. These ideas conflict only when humans attempt to confine Allah within their limited understanding of time. What makes the Quranic concept of destiny difficult for modern minds is not its rigidity, but its depth. It does not allow humans to blame fate entirely, nor does it allow them to crown themselves as the center of existence. It places them in between, free to choose, responsible for their actions, and encompassed by an all-knowing creator. In this light, destiny is no longer the question of whether we are forced, but what we will do with what we have been given. The Qur'an does not encourage obsession with a predetermined future. It urges action in the present where choice truly exists. Perhaps this balance is why the concept of qadar endures. It is not dismissed by science nor exhausted by philosophy. It stands because it reflects a reality every era must face. We do not control everything in our lives, but we are not meaningless within them. Between Allah's knowledge and human choice lies an ethical space, where every action matters and every person is accountable for the path they walk. There comes a moment when all arguments must stop. Not because evidence is lacking, but because humans reach the limits of explanation. After observing cosmic order, biological complexity, human limitation, and the depth of destiny, the question is no longer what is happening, but where it all comes from. Chance is the easiest explanation. It demands no responsibility, no change, and no confrontation with something greater than oneself. But chance is convincing only when coincidences are few and isolated. When patterns repeat consistently across multiple layers of reality, randomness grows fragile. No one denies that humans can see patterns where none exist. But here, the issue is not a single detail. It is a continuous flow, and descriptions of the universe do not conflict with modern discoveries. References to life are not rejected by science. Observations about humanity do not grow outdated. When a text exists for more than 14 centuries without being forced to retract its claims, the question of its origin becomes an intellectual one, not an emotional one. The Qur'an does not present itself as proof. It does not issue ultimatums to reason. It places signs before humanity and quietly steps back, leaving space for reflection. Those who approach it to argue will see only words. Those who approach it to control will encounter limits. But those who approach it seeking understanding may begin to realize that what they once called coincidence could be the outcome of a deeper order. What many find hardest to accept is not the possibility that the Qur'an comes from revelation, but the implications of that possibility. If it truly comes from Allah, then humanity is no longer the absolute center. Knowledge is no longer the sole measure, and humility is no longer optional but necessary to see clearly. In a world where everything is measured by efficiency, the Qur'an reminds us that not all value can be converted into data. Some truths arrive not through accumulation of information, but through stillness of mind. Some answers appear not when humans ask louder, but when they learn how to ask correctly. The Qur'an does not force belief. It asks for reflection, and that reflection does not end with the external universe. It turns inward. If everything is created with order, then human life is not a random interruption. And if every choice carries weight, then life is not a meaningless sequence of days. And if there exists an all-knowing being, then justice is not limited to what humans can see. Some will walk away from these reflections and still call it coincidence. The Qur'an does not prevent them. It does not require majority approval. But others may begin to realize that there is too much coherence to be accidental, and too much consistency to be the product of a single era. Perhaps what the Qur'an truly does is not prove the existence of Allah, but reveal the limits of humanity. It does not diminish reason. It places reason where it belongs. It does not render science meaningless. It frees science from the burden of answering questions beyond its scope. At the final point, the question turns inward. If none of this is random, then what will you do with that truth? Will you treat it as an interesting detail or as an invitation to reconsider how you live? The Qur'an does not close the door. It leaves it open. Whether to step through, pause, or turn away remains a human choice. And perhaps within that freedom, truth becomes clearest. Light never disappears. Humans decide how much of it they are willing to see. The deepest lesson here is not about proving right or wrong, but about relearning the art of reflection. The Qur'an teaches us to slow down, observe, and ask the right questions. It reminds us that every choice carries weight, every action carries responsibility, and every life holds value beyond what society measures. When humans stop seeing themselves as the absolute center, they begin to live with greater responsibility toward themselves, others, and the world. Applying this today does not require dramatic change overnight. It begins with slowing down before major decisions, refusing to blame fate in hardship, and resisting arrogance in success. It means viewing science as a tool for discovery, not an object of worship. Above all, it means keeping the heart open to the possibility that some truths do not come from laboratories, yet shape our entire lives. If these reflections resonate with you, if you are seeking a space to explore the lives of the prophets, the Qur'an, and the relationship between faith, reason, and modern life, join the Prophetic History Explained community. Here we dig deeper, share perspectives, and learn to see the world through both intellect and humility. And do not forget to subscribe to Prophetic History Explained. Every subscription encourages us to continue creating content that is thoughtful, meaningful, and impactful. The search for truth does not end here, and we look forward to walking that path with you.